Hey, it's Joanne from 15 Spatulas, and in this video I'm going to show you how I like to make my pie crust. There are lots of ways to do it. Some people say you should make it by hand, some people say you should use a pastry cutter. I personally like to do it in the food processor. So I've got my scale here and I'm going to measure out some flour. And the reason why I think it's good to use a scale is it's just so much more precise. So we're going to do 2.5 cups, which is 12.5 ounces of flour. Let's see, perfect. And I'm also going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. We're going to get this onto the machine. We're going to pulse this a couple of times just to aerate the flour and combine the flour and salt. I'm chopping up 2.5 sticks of butter into small cubes, and I'm using this tool. It's called a bench scraper. We are going to throw all these butter cubes into the food processor, and we're going to pulse this probably about 10 times. We want to cut the butter into about pea to chickpea sized pieces, and you don't want to chop it up too much. There we go. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, let's take a look at this close up. This is exactly what you're looking for. The butter is cut up into little pieces. They're about pea-sized. They're not too big and they're not too small. Here's the deal. I like to use a food processor for most of the process, but not all of it. So after you've cut up all that butter, you're gonna add all of the flour and butter into a big bowl, and we're gonna finish this off, add the water by hand. And the reason I like to do it in the bowl is because it's so easy to overwork that pie crust in here. So just to keep everything nice and cold, I've got some ice water here, and we're gonna add in about 1/2 cup. We're gonna drizzle over half of our water. It's a 1/4 cup right there. We're gonna toss it around. Start moistening that flour. And I've got my second 1/4 cup installment of ice water. We just keep using the spatula to toss around that moisture, and you can see the pie crust is starting to come together. So you can see that these big pieces are starting to come together. If you kind of squish this together, it kind of sticks. So you can see it's starting to bind, but there's these little pieces of loose, fine flour over here. So this means that we need to add more water. So start with 1/2 cup and then add about a tablespoon at a time until it's just bound together. It should still be a little bit crumbly. This right here is what you're aiming for. When I flip this over, there isn't really any more of those fine flour particles at the bottom. It's pretty well clumped together. So I'm going to take my piece of plastic wrap, I'm going to dump this out, and it's kind of, like a pile of rubble, but you'll see that when you kind of push it together with the plastic wrap, it holds together really well. That is perfect. You can see the pieces of the butter in there. That is exactly what you're going for. Okay, so just kind of form this into a rough disc. We're gonna chill this in the fridge for at least an hour. If you can do 2 or 3, that's even better. Once your pie dough is chilled for a couple of hours, you can go ahead and roll it out, blind bake it, and then fill it. In next week's video, I'm going to go over blind baking. You should be blind baking pretty much every pie crust you make. I'm going to tell you why next week. I'm also going to talk about what exactly blind baking is, and I'm going to show you the different methods for doing it. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and do me a favor, if you like this video, click on the like button below, and I will see you this Thursday for pie crust blind baking.